All right, today we're diving into the blueprint of, well, you. We're going to try and decode one of the biggest questions out there. What actually shapes your personality? I mean, it's a question we've all probably asked ourselves at some point, right? What makes you, you? Is it your genes? All the stuff you've been through? The choices you make every day? Well, as we're about to see, it's really a mix of all of it. It all comes down to the architecture of your personality. Okay, so to make sure we're all on the same page, let's start with a solid definition from the American Psychological Association. Now, the key word here is enduring. Personality is all about those patterns that are pretty consistent, across different situations and over time. But, and this is a really big but, enduring does not mean permanent. And this idea is captured just perfectly by CBT therapist Ludovica Colella. She says that, our personality is stable, but it is not set in stone. Things like new experiences or even just deciding you want to grow as a person can absolutely reshape how we think and act. So really, what this all boils down to is this one central idea. Your personality is this amazing mix of nature and nurture, the traits you're born with and the patterns you learn. And honestly, the most empowering part of all of this, you actually have a hand in how it keeps developing.
Okay, so to really get a grip on where we are now, we kind of have to know where we came from, right? So let's take a quick tour through some of the classic theories that really built the foundation for how we think about this stuff today.
You can see right away that all these early pioneers came at it from different angles. You had Freud, who was all about childhood. Then Erikson came along and said, hey, it's about our entire lives. Piaget was focused on how our thinking changes, and Kohlberg zeroed in on our moral compass. But the really important thing is that together, they completely shifted the conversation from just what personality is to how it actually develops over time. Now, look, a lot of these classic theories have been updated or even challenged since then. Why? Well, modern research found they were maybe a little too rigid or just plain hard to prove scientifically. But you can't deny their core contribution. They're the ones who establish that personality isn't just something you're born with. It develops. Let's just quickly touch on one of the most famous ideas of all, which comes from Freud. I'm sure you've heard of the id, ego, and superego. Think of it like this. The id is that little voice inside that's all about primal urges, the whole I want it now thing. Then you've got the superego, which is like your inner moral compass, the voice that tells you what you should do. And stuck in the middle is the ego, the realist, constantly trying to find a compromise between those two. So while all those classic theories were trying to figure out how personality develops, modern psychology has kind of shifted its focus. Now it's more about how we can measure and categorize the traits we all have. And that brings us to what is by far the most widely accepted framework we have today, the Big Five. And it's super easy to remember with the acronym OCEAN. So O is for openness. That's all about your creativity and how you handle change. C is for conscientiousness. Think organization, attention to detail. E is extroversion. Basically, do you get your energy from being around people? A is agreeableness. How cooperative and interested in others are you? And finally, N is for neuroticism, which is really about emotional stability, how likely you are to feel things like anxiety or stress. The key here is that we all fall somewhere on a spectrum for each of these 5 traits. And let me be clear, this isn't just some fringe idea or a personality quiz you'd find online. The Big Five is pretty much the gold standard in personality psychology today. Its real strength is that it's been tested for decades, across tons of different cultures. It gives us a reliable, common language to talk about the basic building blocks of who we are. Okay, so if we have this great language to understand our personality, the obvious next question is, what can we actually do about it? I mean, if you want to grow or change, how do you even start? Let's dive into a simple action plan.
First off, if you're thinking about this stuff, you should know you are definitely not alone. Take a look at this number, $38 billion. That's how much is spent on personal development every single year.
What that number shows is a huge shared desire for growth. People all over the world are actively investing time and money into becoming better versions of themselves. And that absolutely includes working on and evolving their personalities. So where do you begin? Well, you can think of it as a 3-step process. Step 1, identify your traits. This is where something like the Big Five is so useful. Like if you realize you're a bit low on agreeableness, boom, you have a starting point. Step 2, practice self-awareness. Just start noticing how that trait actually shows up in your day-to-day life.
And finally, step 3, commit to small actions. Seriously, small. If you want to be more conscientious, just start by making your bed every single morning. Real, lasting change almost always comes from those small, consistent efforts piled up over time.
And all of this brings us to our final and maybe the most important idea of all. It's probably best to stop thinking of your personality as some static, finished blueprint and start seeing it as a story that is still being written. Think about it. Every experience you have, every choice you make, every little step you take towards self-improvement, that's a new sentence, a new paragraph, maybe even a whole new chapter. And the beautiful thing is, the story is yours to write. So the real question isn't just who are you right now, it's who are you going to become next? Thanks for joining us.